when you buy, for example, a tank, you buy it forever. You don't buy it for a year, right? And this is the typical procurement in the defense forces everywhere in the world. And so when you come with the same approach, like SaaS approach to the defense, in our case with software, it's completely normal that you price it like for a certain amount of time, but not in the defense.
Reconnaissance drone generates hundreds of images per flight. Before Farsight Vision, processing that footage manually took specialist days, and you fixed that. 8 months after your first conversations with the Ukraine Defense Forces, your technology was live on the front lines. Today, over 200 units of defense forces use it.
We have some of our teammates whose fathers are in the front line. So they are always kind of worried, but they know that they are actually helping. I even had a feedback from one of my teammates that her father said that he was like really proud, and he was sharing amongst his fellow servicemen that like what his daughter was doing.
I would love to understand the part where you actually deployed on active Ukrainian front lines. In just a couple of months from concept to battlefield, can you tell us how did you get from let's do this to actually deploying it in extreme conditions, right?
Space is humanity's greatest laboratory. Defense is democracy's strongest shield. And today, in workshops, in laboratories, in startups, a new generation rises, not to observe history, but to write it, where every innovation above drives progress below, where every breakthrough in defense preserves our freedom to create. Behind every breakthrough stands a founder with a story. Now these stories emerge to light the path for those who follow. Welcome to rockets and radars.
So let's get into it. For people that might not know Farsight Vision yet, could you tell us in a few sentences what you are actually doing?
That's a great question. As the evolvement of our growth is happening, these few sentences actually change, and vary. And I still think I can define Farsight Vision as geospatial analytics and awareness solutions company that works in dual use, but with the focus on obviously helping the Ukrainian frontline, and which provides the alternative sources of geospatial data for mission planning, for operations planning, and for analytics of the current situation of the zones of interest. So that is very high level and briefly where we are and what is our main focus.
Oh, very nice. Thanks for that. And now I would love to understand the person behind it. So who is Viktoriia when she's not running Farsight Vision actually in this moment?
There is no other Viktoriia. No, honestly, that's also a very good question. There were many faces of me, I guess, because I was always pretty active person, and whenever, whether that was at my PhD years or during my years working at building software products, or combining that with some educational projects, I usually had quite a lot of other initiatives running in parallel. At this point, I think that the environment I'm in and the purposes we are serving and like the mission we are serving is absorbing all the time. So there isn't any other Viktoriia. I can't even say unfortunately. I think it's a fortunate thing, and I'm really privileged. And
because you are a very mission-driven person, right? And if you have the fortune of spending your time on that mission, I think that's an advantage instead of a disadvantage.
Yes, I definitely value the possibility to be of help in the defense efforts, and I really value the people that gathered around me, and that both me and my co-founder were able to I guess, attract and then to lead on this journey, because this is a very rough journey. And, a fun fact is that years ago, and even I guess, let's say 10 years ago, it was a dream of mine to be involved in building some mission-driven product and project, which would also involve traveling and, speaking publicly and so on. But did I know that we have to be very careful what we wish for? And now my work is just a fact. It's not unfortunately, but just a fact, is related to a lot of travel and a lot of speaking and a lot of conversations and negotiations and so on. And it is really exhausting, obviously needed and obviously rewarding. But yeah, we definitely have to be careful what we wish for. And someday in life, I don't know when, hopefully after the war, there probably again is the time for, casual travels, for kind of touristic travels, which is definitely part of me, because I always loved learning different cultures, speaking different languages. In my active command, there was usually about 6 to 7 that I was both studying as a student and then trying to, always keep up the commando. And it was always part of me to be part of like different multinational environments. And now it's kind of just a demand of the of this sphere that we are actively involved in as a company. And we are trying to, as you know, attract both investments into our company, other companies of DefenceTech, but also to involve sponsors to help the defense forces and to help develop the innovative ideas around the defense. So it has, obviously, it provokes a lot of communications and a lot of travel. So I guess this is the kind of non-professional, in a way, part of me that became part of the daily job.
Okay, actually, thank you so much for that brief description over your over your life, and you actually nudged my next question, which was you mentioned that you were working on all kinds of different software businesses, right? Doing your PhD, working on education projects as well within different industries, but with the same mindset, I think, working on things that help people in a meaningful way. And I'm very curious to understand, have you had any vision before Farsight Vision? Were you chasing anything, or were you just trying to help people at every step of your career?
I think this is also a very good question. I can say that I guess it was changing from different phases between different phases of life, and I was always learning something. So I guess there was a lot of education for me, and then at some point in time, I because I was a PhD student, it was one of the requirements to also teach the undergrads, and I really loved it. I love to engage with different activities that would go slightly beyond the original curriculum and be less theoretical, more practical with my students, because I was lucky with my professors and I was lucky with some involvements in like practical projects. And so I wanted to kind of pay it forward or make my contribution. But then I guess it just moved on into different like commercial projects as well, because it wasn't, I was never the person of, just performing tasks. It wasn't about me, never. I was just, I don't know, I can't say that it was a planned career journey or something. It was just like, first of all, boring. Second of all, it was, well, I was kind of restless if it was boring. And third, I think I was always trying to understand, why are we doing something? By we, I mean me and the people around me, my colleagues, my peers, my superiors. If I was an employee of some company, I was always trying to understand, what are we doing and why are we doing this? And then I guess it was important not just to do what I was told, but to find a way how to achieve the goals. So I guess that was also like part of how that was related to being helpful and being driven by mission, because I was just trying to understand, what are we trying to achieve. And then in Ukraine, for example, for quite some time, especially when I was a student, like school, secondary school, and high school and university student, it was still, and in some of the institutions, I think it's still now the thing that our education is highly theoretical. So it's less applied,
I'm
more
from Slovakia,
theoretical.
so I agree
You
with you there.
understand, yeah.
Yeah, I very understand.
And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is great, like laws of nature, or I don't know, laws of math, the fundamental laws of the universe and so on. But how do we help with this? Like, how can that be applied? And I think that was also very important for all reasons. And even with whatever we like, if we are speaking about not arts, let's say, not sciences but arts. So how can we? Okay, that is great that we know all the great philosophers or writers or artists of the past. So what? Like, what we do with this? How that is helpful in the current, in the future? And that was like really of interest of mine to get the understanding of what are the different approaches of applying the theoretical knowledge or theoretical understanding of non natural sciences, or not the sciences but the arts, in the like applicable real routine life basically. And I think for me, I found that it was really one of the hardest, if not the hardest, tracks or spheres of bringing some projects to life, was not even the technical aspects of implementation, not the understanding of how to implement something, but how to communicate it. So communication was basically the hardest thing ever. And I can't say that it was like, I was born with it or something. I think that was gradually growing with time. And I was just curious. I was always curious about how can I communicate clearer and how can I communicate better with different types of people and so on. So that we come to get things done. So how can we get things done in the best way? So I think it was interesting for me how to make that possible between also different nations, different cultures, languages, and so on. And it's always hard even within your own nation. But if you start doing this between different nations, that becomes even harder. So I think it's a combination of different things that I was curious about, and it was always like that. It hasn't been just a recent desire of mine, but I think all the previous experience definitely has been an asset in what we are doing with Farsight Vision, because it is an unknown area for many. It is definitely an unknown market for many, an unexisting market since, until 2022. And there are a lot of people, both experienced and inexperienced in it, who actually don't know what's going on and are trying to figure it out. So communication is definitely one of the keys to help bring people of initiative, people of curiosity together, and then build something meaningful together as well.
And just to be also tactical here, there are other DefenceTech founders listening, as well as engineers that have the best product ever from a technical perspective, right? They have a vision as well, but they find it very hard to explain it to other people. So I know we cannot put your whole experience and life into a few minutes, but what would be your one message to them on they have something that is meaningful and that they feel attachment to? How do they explain it to people in simple words?
This is very hard. What I came to learn, and again, it all depends again on the domain and where is the product or the system functioning. Is it a part of something bigger or not? Is it a standalone product? What are the competitors and so on? are there any competitors? Is it something disruptive? But taking that all aside and basing on our experience and my experience in DefenceTech, in defense, we are not building something, isolated. So it's usually part of a system because first and foremost, we are providing something for the defense forces, and defense forces is one of the oldest existing organisms and bodies of the world, basically in every country. So it is ruled by certain processes, procedures, rule sets, and doctrines. And so it's very important, and that was all actually shared with me as well. So I'm just like resharing this wisdom. You need to be sure, or at least you need to more or less understand where your product or your solution belongs. So what is it the part of? Is this a part of any specific program, system, procedure? Does it belong to any specific type and kind of forces? Should it be part of any bigger system or not? And if yes, are you ready? Is it integrable, interoperable? Uh, mm, is it a substitute for the whole system, or is it an element of a system? Does it boost the system, or does it eliminate specific waste of the system? So I think it's very important to give a very precise explanation how your product or your solution fits in, or what does it substitute, and then what is the qualitative and quantitative results of this fitting or substituting. This is something that kind of correlates to the idea of what problem you're trying to solve, which is usually something that investors are expecting to hear, right, in the presentations, in the pitches, in the decks, and so on. But in this case, it's slightly different focus because it's not the problem you're trying to solve, but what is the system you're trying to fit.
Interesting.
Because in defense, we are not
blueprint.
actually thinking in products, we are thinking in systems and solutions.
Like if the whole industry was a Lego castle, right? You're trying to figure it out which part of that Lego you can exchange or add value to.
Exactly.
Very good analogy. Super great. Okay, and before we get into the story of how everything started, I would love to understand your co-founder, Volodymyr, who spent his early career doing vulnerability research, spent working in cybersecurity companies, and then spent over a decade building a retail data analytics business.
You did a very thorough research, Martin.
Yeah, yes. But what I'm super curious about, on the first sight, there is nothing obvious in common between you two. But at the end, you decided to build the same thing together. So tell us the whole story about how you found each other, just to tell others that might not have co-founders yet on how to actually do that in the first place.
I think we actually fit really perfectly with Volodymyr, and that was... I will again try to explain, and then probably it becomes obvious why it was kind of meant to be. But I mean, Volodymyr has both a deep technical and entrepreneurial background, with, I would say, like, sole inclination towards technologies and R&D and deep tech. And that's what that was a few of his early age education degrees. That was his early stage employment. So he was working in various security, cybersecurity companies where he was trying to explore, as you mentioned, vulnerabilities and security frameworks, etc. He was also working for many years with computer vision and reinforcement learning and so on and so forth. So basically, I think that is where his heart is. And he also combines the technical aspect and like his heart in technologies with smarts into building very closely knit, high-performing teams, which is very important. So he can unite people around him in a very interesting way. I would say non-traditional way, and he can lead definitely, both lead by example, lead by challenging, and so he is definitely one of those who, in theory, of course, you would want to have on your team, so that this person actually built a very high-performing R&D team. And definitely he had a hand in entrepreneurship, because he built a number of companies. And when we met, he was actually the CEO and, if I'm not mistaken, the solo founder at that point of a company that is now about 12 years old, and it operates in quite many countries, if I'm not mistaken, around 17 countries of the world. And we met at the business school in Lviv, Lviv Business School, where we were studying together Master of Technology Management program. And I think we were actually kind of, as I always say, competing in a way. And we were also communicating a lot about our like professional experience, our experience in building products, and our experience at business negotiations, communication, and in general in I would say the business trends. And this is a very broad term, because we would be speaking or exchanging some articles or books or interviews of like famous entrepreneurs and product builders, and getting to speak about our some of our favorites, like Peter Thiel, for example, and others. And at the same time, we had quite a lot of like arguments, very some of them very heated arguments about the ways how to, for example, form the strategy of company growth, acceleration, and how to even like very low-level things, how to build the quality assurance strategy in the company, and so on. And I think we were also one of the group of most active participants of the business school program. I think we participated in literally everything that was going on at the business school and around. And we were like actively trying to, you can be just a student of certain program, or you can try to get everything you can from it. Meaning that you are very curious, so you're always asking a lot of questions. You are getting to know closer, or getting in more communication with your professors, trying to expand your network. And we both, I think, were the people who were testing what we were taught, or what we were proposed at business school back then at our kind of job places. And I remember we were even joking that our teams were suffering from our studying, because we were constantly performing experiments on
All
them.
in. Okay. So in one word, you were kind of soulmates, if I can
I
say
think
that.
so.
Okay. So now it makes sense. It's obvious that you ended up working together. And regarding working together, can you tell us about the time between you were studying and having fun and competing with each other to actually finding Farsight Vision? What has happened within this period, and how did you end up starting a company? Curious about the story there.
I think we were, we started actually, there was the first go in our studying in 2020 during COVID, and there was no possibility to do it offline. So we went through a short kind of promo version of it online, and we really liked what we got, but it wasn't like a proper business school. So we then reapplied in 2021. We got accepted, and it was already like a proper offline business school for 2 years in planning. And we actually started in September 2021. So it was just before the full invasion, and I think I was actually like flying back from the US because I was then working for a product in health tech that was HQ'd in Salt Lake City and Austin. So I was like flying back and forth to the US and Ukraine, and I was actually coming back from like another stay in the US for our next module in the business school on the 21st of February 2022. It was like Turkish Airlines. The plane was delayed, so I arrived on the 22nd, and that was already the last plane that landed in Lviv before all the airports were closed and all the airlines shut service and so on. And that was basically the beginning of our second semester at the business school. And then everything obviously changed just in a few days. Then in May of 2022, we had a pause. So all the program was obviously paused for a couple of months because, and everyone was in shock and nobody knew what was going on. I had a very distributed team back then in Ukraine. And so my main focus back then was to make sure that we get people out of occupation and people out of the bombings and so on. So I was mostly doing that and volunteering, and also trying to figure out that everyone is safe and so on. With Volodymyr, he was, I can't say lucky because nobody was lucky back then, but most of his team was in Chernivtsi, so it was like slightly calmer, more or less, period of life. And then when we came back, I think in May 22, to the online format of studying, and obviously we were always in contact and asking like, how can I help? What is going on? Where are you? And so on. We got the news that one of our group mates was killed in the front line. And I think that was one of the biggest shocks, like personal ones, because then it's someone that you really actually know. And it was a huge tragedy for the whole group at business school for us, because it was like he was the kindest person, really. And it was a huge loss for all of us. And I think that was probably this first moment when we started to think about what can we do more, in a more influential or more effective way. It's not just gathering donations and trying to get some bulletproof vests or medical kits or stuff like that into Ukraine, but what can we do really with our knowledge and with our network, which has bigger impact. And then in 2023, so the business school and our obviously employments or business endeavors were running through until the summer, like June 2023. I also had, I was like delegated as a dual use student to like the partnered business school in the US in early 2023. So my last semester business school I actually did in the US. And then when I was coming back and during my time in the US, I had this strong feeling that, first of all, I definitely want to come back and I definitely don't want to work from abroad. And I want to do something in Ukraine. And I had a couple of ideas already, what I wanted to do, and a couple of like product ideas, because I was always in constant contact with friends and ex-colleagues and some even relatives who were in the front line, and I knew what they needed. I mean, I heard their requests and their demands and what they were asking. So it was like some of them were really, we need to gather donations and buy some stuff. But some things were like, we don't really have this or that at all. We don't have it. And it would be really helpful for us. And some of these things were software solutions. And obviously, when I heard, about some software solutions that I needed. First of all, I was surprised, like, how come you don't have it? It's obvious that things like that should exist, but they didn't. And then we had quite a few good conversations, including with Volodymyr, but also with like broader bubble of active people who were trying to help. And there were a couple of main ideas, like two actually, that came up. And one was to create an effective communication means for huge amounts of people, so that the information is distributed in a safe, secure way, immediately, and it gives the possibility to conduct certain large operations or missions effectively. And then second was obviously helping with the lost data from drones. Because at that point, we didn't really have the effective system of collecting streams. We didn't have the possibility to process the footage. Even though if we got the stream or we got the footage from any drone, then it was like just a manual viewing of this data. So you got an hour-long video, then a person sits somewhere and watches the video and tells you, okay, I think I saw on the minute number this and second number this, something looks interesting or something. So it was a lot of waste of time, resources, and super exhausted people, people's time. So we thought that why have we been working on building all these software products in the past? Because we wanted to automate certain things so that there is less waste and more, productiveness, effectiveness, and so on. Why can't we just apply it for helping make people less exhausted, more productive in our defense efforts? For me, it was kind of obvious that we need to do these things, and I think there was a number of people for whom it was also obvious. So I think from the very beginning, when I kind of pitched the idea about processing, footage from drones to Volodymyr, to my co-founder, he was definitely like, "This is great. We need to do this." I can't say that at this particular moment he, for example, had a lot of knowledge of relative GIS experience or working with 3D space. That was more on my side. So it was my experience more than his at that point. But he, as one of the most smartest people I knew, I have known, was definitely very fast at figuring out what are the main trends, if any, what are the key achievements in terms of the scientific development of this topic, what can we apply, what are the specifics of the contested environment in which we will have to work, and so on. And he managed to gather very quickly, I would say, in the next half a year, and a few, like a team of a couple of very smart people that helped us create the first prototype and to then iterate really fast from it. And I guess it was we actually never thought initially that we are going, to build a startup. It was always about how can we, what can we, what is this thing, the product, the solution that we can make that would be really helpful. And only after, when we saw the feedback, the positive feedback and the demand, then we thought that if we just keep bootstrapping, then it would be like a really long, there will be no possibility to fast deliver. And there will be no possibility to fast iterate and perfect this product.
Okay, so you haven't incorporated in the very beginning. You incorporated when you realized that this could be some. Okay, makes sense. Cool. One side question that I'm very curious to ask here. There are a ton of people now, fortunately, across the Europe that I talk with, and they ask me, Martin, I want to help, but I want to help more than just helping with the donations, as you did before. But they don't know how to get in touch with people that could tell them what they could work on and what they could use their experience on, what would be your advice or answer to them? What should they do to be more involved with their expertise they already have from their previous career? Right.
This is perfect because this is exactly what we are looking for. Broadly, us as a company, myself personally, and a number of certain specialized organizations actually. So there is definitely a number of very active founders that are out there in participating in different events that you can directly reach out to, like myself. And I would definitely connect you. If you are not fitting, for example, what we are doing, I will definitely connect you
Amazing.
with other founders and with other initiatives and programs, because we have been, I've been involved really deeply since the summer of 2023. So it will be soon 3 years. And I think I definitely know quite a lot of initiatives and programs that are going on, and the companies or startups that have been growing throughout this period of time. And I would be delighted to connect people with specific experience and the desire to help, or those who have already started something, for example, or who want to be somehow connected to specific projects or directions. So I would be delighted to connect you. But then there are also different clusters and associations that you could directly reach out to. For example, obviously there is a state organization, Brave One, which is basically this central node that filters out and match makes the initiatives with the military requests, and they are literally in the middle of everything. So they definitely know all the, I guess, about 4,000 different initiatives that have been registered on their platform, but also they, what is more important, know the demands from the frontline so that they can
Nice.
direct you in the right way. And then there are also the I am afraid to be wrong, but I think 5 either regional or specialized clusters and also associations in Ukraine that specialized either at specific types of companies. For example, there is the Unmanned Ground Vehicles Association, there is Iron Cluster, there is Tech Force in UA, there is Ecosystem, and other associations that basically handle specific tracks of initiatives. So, like, for example, if you are interested, if you are an early stage startup founder, or you have just some ideas to validate, then I would say that you need to communicate with Ecosystem, because they are working with early stage startups and they are supporting them. They are helping, they're not accelerating, but they are kind of helping to understand the right paths, and they would direct you either to an accelerator or to a different association and so on. If you are like more mature company or more mature startup, then there are associations like Iron Cluster, for example, and you can definitely reach out to them, and they have like this mixed group of companies of different stage of growth. And then of course, like from probably Series A and above, there is Tech Force in UA. So they also would help you connect with their members, and probably would help out with like GR and explain the limitations, like regulatory limitations, or the innovations that are going on and so on. There is obviously the Ukrainian international, sorry, I'm mixing up the name, Ukrainian Council of Armor. I think that's the correct way of the organization.
I will check it out.
that sits on top of all these five clusters, and also kind of regulates and helps their relationships and helps to promote their requests from their members. So there are basically quite a lot of different ways how to understand whether your ideas fit, or to understand the demand so that you start working on the requests that are coming directly from the frontline.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this advice. And for people that want to get in touch with you, how should they do that? Should they go on your LinkedIn and text you, or is there any other way?
I believe that there are like two very straightforward ways. LinkedIn obviously is one of those, and then there is a contact form on our website, which is probably also one of the best ways to get into, as I say, into the matrix.
Perfect. I will add your LinkedIn into the description, so it's very easy to get
Thank
in
you.
touch with you here. Yes, cool. And let's get into the time when you actually started the company. You registered in both Ukraine and Estonia from day one, not the UK, not Germany, not Netherlands. I'm very curious to understand, why did you choose Estonia specifically, and what did that actually unlock for you as a company in the very beginning?
Yeah, I mean, this is the question that I'm quite often asked, why Estonia in particular, and I think back then it was not really many known options, to be honest, to work with in terms of the company that you haven't still. I mean, I haven't still known. I still didn't know what would be the definition of the company. Right? Is it defense or dual use, or something in between? Because in both cases, actually, you have to be mindful of export controls, export licenses, the specifics of different governmental regulations, and how your products are to be codified or licensed, or how do you plan to become part of the procurement system or systems, and what are the possible tracks and so on, because basically your client is the state, right? You're not working kind of with private persons, even though in Ukraine we are able to work decentralized, and that was one of the innovations of the government. Meaning that we can directly sell to the military units, but still it's working with the government because the military units are, the state level body. And this obviously, unless you obviously think about the track working with other manufacturers and the industry partners, in which case you are working with the industry, so it's not B2G relationship, but it's B2B to G. So anyway, right? And the fact that there is this G in the end is the thing to consider, and we were kind of mindful of that fact. But and that basically was one of the why we decided to go with Estonia, because Estonia was really digital. It was really easy to not only set up the entity, but also to then continue the lead business management, yes, of the company. And we little did I know that I would have some issues with the bank account setting up and so on, but it would be the issue in almost every country, because once you are describing your activities of the company, and once you describe what you're actually doing, the regulations would kick in. And I think we were the first Ukrainian by origin Estonian incorporated company who was allowed to open a regular bank account in Estonia. And that was like a huge achievement unlocked. And then the next companies would be following just the same path, the same track. But can you imagine, back in, it was summer of 2024 when we were starting to open the bank account, there was no process of a dual use or defense company to open a bank account, and it was like even forbidden, because it was it fell under some regulations that we were doing warfare or something. So even in Estonia, and we actually analyzed incorporation in Poland, in I think it was Denmark, Ireland, the UK, and the US. These were like the range of countries, and out of those, some were indicating the limitations straight away. With Estonia, they didn't indicate anything about the bank accounts, but they just indicated the easiness and the digital manner in which everything operates. And it was like, okay, we will do it. And then obviously taxation aspects, the aspect of exporting and requesting the export controls, which was all obviously export license, which was all to be conducted online again. And since we didn't really know back then, would we be able to actually travel? For example, my co-founder and even myself, what would be the situation in Ukraine and so on? It was very important. Then, second factor obviously was the way, the support that we saw from Estonia and from the Baltic states in general, and obviously later, also slightly later, the Nordics. It was a huge level of support, and we were welcomed and kind of invited to not only be incorporated, but also to become part of Estonian defense and aerospace cluster. We were invited immediately to participate in Estonian defense events like Estonian Defense Week and so on. We were welcomed to the Estonian Entrepreneurs Association. So it was like,
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yes,
actually.
you get into the whole community very fast, and you are welcomed, and you are like, you are helped to thrive. So yes, I think this is a no-brainer.
A no-brainer. Thanks for the answer. And now I would love to understand the part where you actually start to build things, right? Build your first MVP. So
Yeah.
you mentioned summer 23 as where you began on the idea in helping process so much raw footage from the front line. And by the beginning of 2024, your MVP was deployed on active Ukrainian front lines. That's just a couple of months from concept to battlefield. Can you tell us, how did you get from let's do this to actually deploying it in extreme conditions, right? And mission critical conditions?
I think it's actually amazing, and someday it's worth, I don't know, writing a book or making a movie, to be honest. But at this point, we are still in this running mode. We are constantly running, and we are not stopping to reflect. But I guess like one of the key points was in the summer of 2023, I basically just yet pitched because the idea, because we just have like a small presentation, we didn't even have the POC yet, to one of my ex-colleagues who became an active airborne assault troopers participants of the defense forces. He belonged to one of the most resultative brigades, and I just basically, he was letting me know some of the demands from the front line. So I kind of pitched this to him, and I said, like, would that be of any use? And back then, honestly, it was just FPV drones. It was some copters, like very little amount of fixed wings. And obviously no optic fiber. There was still not many jammers in the front line. So there were already jammers, but like here and there. So it wasn't the whole jammed environment. And he was like, yeah, it would be really a huge help for us for planning and analytics, because we are kind of working in this like real-time type of scenarios, but we make mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and that would be really helpful. And he connected me to an organization from the general staff called the Center of the Scaling of Technological Inventions. This is like a usual governmental long name, but there was a person responsible for that track, geo analytics, and he immediately, like next day, called me which is also like a huge surprise because in civilian conditions that would probably take a month just to be contacted. He contacted me like in a day or two, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're doing this, and we need this. Let's talk," and so on. So it was like a total match, though there was still just an idea. It wasn't yet a proof of concept. And basically, what he gave us a lot of good product insights, and we decided that once we have a proof of concept, they have this experimental unit, experimental military unit that tests innovations, and that he would connect us, and we would conduct the testing together. So basically, we actually even skipped Brave One at that point. Because we were directly connected to the center of scaling of technological innovations, and they were working with a number of military units that were doing experimental testing. And I think the first tests for us happened somewhat around the beginning of, I think it was something like beginning of September.
Okay, so summer
that was
you
just
started
the code. Yeah, that was
okay.
like just the backend code, just some APIs, like no front end, no platform, nothing. And they were like, okay, this is like a good beginning. We need to fix this and that and so on. And I think we then rekindled, or the next like iteration was around December, when we had the possibility to test a little bit more. And at that point, it was the situation. So see, the situation changed dramatically from like late August to December, because already in December, the environment, the zones of interest were already way heavier jammed. So whatever we created 2 months ago, it was already working poorly. And we had to kind of adjust to the jammed or fully jammed environment. And so that is how we came up with the idea. Actually, Volodymyr, it's kudos to him. He came up with the idea of creating a mapper, FSV mapper. This is this device that we were providing, just giving to the units so that they can start processing the data right after the flight without wasting any time on logistics. And we distributed first mappers, I think, in February 24. First like 5 mappers or something, and we got already the request to purchase after. And so the first mappers were purchased already in May. So this is like very fast pacing journey for us. And as Volodymyr said some time back, to remember, I think it was like in 24, he said that in all the companies he either worked for or established, he never saw such a fast found product market fit. And this is obvious because if it's, a very specific life and death environment in which your products actually help save lives, this is a completely different story than with basically almost anything else. Maybe just healthcare is very similar in that way. And so, of course, once you have any positive feedback, we had any positive feedback, it spreads by reference to the units and so on. So by word of mouth. And then next few months, I think somewhat between March and July 24, we had so many product feature requests from different sides that it was really hard for us to focus. And we made a lot of mistakes, honestly. Like we were really unfocused, and we made a lot of mistakes that everyone, I guess, makes. But
what was the biggest mistake, actually, if you remember, that you made?
Yeah, I think it's not one feature or something. It's just trying to serve all the customers. Because you cannot physically then it was like 5 people already, probably like 3 or 5 persons, between 3 and 5. Like everyone had their hands on keyboards and so on, but still you are fully overwhelmed. And also you have a lot of which is great, customer requests coming, at 3 a.m., 5 a.m., any hours of day and night, basically, because you don't have vacations or evenings or nights in the front line. So you also try to respond to all the requests from your customers, but at the same time, you want to bring in new features. And the biggest mistake was trying to serve all the requests. That's definitely the biggest one. Plus, I would say, I think we because we were really overwhelmed with like in a positive way with the attention and with the feedback, we didn't back then have a chance to pause and think slightly beyond what's going on right now. So, for example, if we did that, we would not be, for example, trying to set or tune our algorithms so much at some specific types of copters, but instead we would tell our end users that, guys, you will not use these copters like in a few months. Let's not concentrate on them, and let's do stuff for completely different types of platforms. But also, one more thing, we have now a lot of experience and data, and we can kind of base on this data, and we can say that, you know what, these drones you don't use, they are like bad for your purposes. Like, what are your use cases? Can you tell us? And okay, so for this use case, we recommend you use this and that. Now we can say that because we have all the data, but back then we didn't have enough data, we didn't have enough authority, enough experience. So again, we were trying to serve all the requests, and then I guess that was really unfocusing for us.
And all the requests came from people under extreme stress, right?
Yes.
In terrible conditions. So it's more like everything is super important. So I totally
Exactly.
understand. How do you do product iterations and new features now after the experience?
Now we're also bigger. So we have like proper product teams, and we have the R&D team, and we have the roadmap and certain iterations planning. We don't do regular sprints because it's too long. We deliver way faster than the regular like software delivery sprints would deliver. But still, we have monthly planning, weekly planning, and sometimes daily planning. It depends. But we actually plan the roadmap, and we also try to be mindful of the top requested features or changes. So qualitative metrics matter, obviously, because qualitatively, and it's not just because of the business wise, it's because usually qualitatively top requested metrics would mean that we would provide the biggest amount of value for the frontline. Because if it's needed for, like, let's say, hundreds or thousands of end users, that means that they will all use this, and collectively it would provide more effect than it's like a couple of users here and there. So now we're also prioritizing, and obviously some features go hand in hand with some other features. So if we don't deliver those ones, the others are not to be delivered because they are blocked and so on. So definitely we are really, really close, as I hope we are, to our end users, and we try to continuously take their feedback and understand how the changes, how the needs change. But at the same time, we try to go slightly up, get into more of helicopter view and to see the trends, what's going on. Because if we still continue serving the yesterday's problem, while we have other problems to serve, we will be always lagging behind. So
the future
I think
threats are coming. Okay, and you mentioned this, which is super fascinating. Sprints are not good enough in this industry. So what is good enough?
Well, we are trying to definitely stay lean, be lean, and follow more of the lean or accelerate type of delivery doctrine and framework, where we do kind of conceptually package the deliveries by certain time frames. So it can be, for example, weekly kind of sprints. but we try to be super lean, and both infrastructure wise, architecture of the systems wise, and teams wise, we try to be really flexible, and we try to make sure that we build infrastructure and architecture in a way where we can deliver this extreme flexibility. Because occasionally we do need to have the delivery of specific features or specific fixes as well faster than planned. Because that obviously would unblock specific like defense deliverables, so to say. And we can't always plan what is needed, what is top needed all the time, because very often it's pretty sensitive information, right? And so we are obviously trying to get like, what do you need type of information, but it's not always delivered directly. So it's not like you are speaking with your civilian end user and they would give you exactly what they need, even though sometimes they don't know what they need. But here it's also, there are layers and layers of security and mindfulness of sharing feedback, because sharing feedback is dangerous. And sometimes it takes a lot of special efforts to understand what's the feedback really and what is really needed. So that is another layer of complexity.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that. And you mentioned team a couple of times, and
Yeah.
we never got into how you actually hire. So I'm very curious, who and when did you hire first, and what is your mindset and approach in getting new amazing people into your team?
So hiring is actually one of the most exciting and the most exhausting parts of myself and Volodymyr's jobs, because we need very specific talents, that's for sure. We need very dedicated and mission-driven people who would understand or who would tolerate putting kind of their lives on hold while they are building what we are building, and being responsive and being, kind of switched on all the time, which is really hard. And like most of majority of our teammates, they have families, they have kids. Some of our teammates' husbands or brothers are in the front lines, so they are active servicemen or servicewomen, and it's very hard to be always very like top involved in everything, top very dedicated, while you're always worrying for your husband, brother, fathers as well. By the way, we have some of our teammates whose fathers are in the front line, so they are always kind of worried, but they know that they are actually helping. And I even had a feedback from one of my teammates that her father said that he was like really proud, and he was sharing amongst his fellow servicemen that like what his daughter was doing. So we are definitely gathering around and hiring people who are mission driven by the same mission and who are able to perform under stress for a long time, because it's a marathon, definitely. Again, not a sprint. And we are not trying to measure it. We are doing this in such a dynamic way until specific date. There is like no end date. And
Yeah,
this is very
true.
important for people to feel this and to commit to this. We started by hiring a couple of like very also motivated and very experienced engineers. And I think the fifth person was our first quality assurance engineer, who also had, I think she had about 10, 15 years of experience. And all of our first up to 10 people were like super senior level, honestly. And I was slightly worried, how can they work with each other? When there are no like junior level, middle level, and so on. But I think mission drives people in the right way. And also like these were people from our network, and we had good experience with them. But obviously, as we started to grow and we started to hire people outside of our network as well, because we had very specific roles to hire, like XR, VR, or now we are hunting for robotics engineers. Obviously, we have the computer vision team, so we're also looking for very smart computer vision engineers. And we had these issues when we were, for example, hiring people who were more like research, but not development, or the reverse. They were development, but not research-driven people. And it was always very hard to find this middle ground for people who want to get their hands dirty, so to say, but they can also work on academic level and go into very deep knowledge, deep tech. I think still that and by the way, we started hiring outside of Ukraine as well some time back, and we have engineers now in like 4 countries, I think. And we are still looking very actively. So if you are listening and you are interested, please reach out. We are definitely helping, I think, very qualitatively people grow. We help people grow. We lead them into challenges that they haven't taken before, and we are very supportive and very like collaborative as a team in like passing over some of the technical and product challenges. So I think team works really great together, and I see a lot of like uh, not even taking, I mean, not taking into consideration myself or Volodymyr, the team runs as a very closely knit mechanism, and I'm really proud that that happened. I think it didn't happen obviously on its own. Again, big kudos to Volodymyr on this. But I see a lot of this helping each other situation going on, and this really great, because in our environment, without having this dynamic, this atmosphere inside of the team, that would like be really, really hard.
Thank you. So, what is super interesting is that your whole career is shaped by a mission-driven initiatives, right? And what I really love is that your whole team culture is made out of people that believe in the same missions. So that's a very great to see. Thank you, Viktoriia, for covering all of the biggest milestones until this point in the timeline. And now I would love to talk about, I think, a big milestone where you got your very first external investments, somewhere over $100,000 from Freedom Fund, that is based in the US, alongside 2 angel investors. At this time, you were still building the MVP. You were still in the very early stages. What was your actual pitch at this stage? If I get that right, you had no revenue yet, right? So I'm very curious. What
Yeah,
did
I
they say?
guess we did have something really basic at that point. So there were a couple of FSV mappers that we sold to the some of our end users. So it was like very basic, yes. Yeah, I think I have to thank the investor group from Freedom Fund for kind of shaping the attitude towards what we were building initially, because we were really humble at the way how we framed what we were building. It was like, we are doing this just layers of maps, kind of, and it's just for understanding your whereabouts and these 3D models to get more understanding of, the depths of problems, so to say. And I think it was one of the investors from Freedom Fund who first started to speak about what we were doing as geospatial digital twins.
Okay, so
And
that was them that
yes,
got
yeah,
the okay.
yeah, have to give kudos, right, to them for this. And they actually helped us to have this broader picture about the potential of what we can do with our vision, and also with the process data, and how can we be more helpful, and what are the directions we can go with the digital twins. And digital twin is a very broad notion, right? Because we can speak about well, personal twin. We can speak about industry like twin and so on. In this case, it was like very, very like well understood digital twin of physical representation, right? Because it was like the surface of the earth, basically. And in many cases, when you speak about twins, you think about satellites and satellite imagery and so on, because that creates more um, complex view, not the helicopter, but per se the satellite view, right, of the Earth. And in our case, we went many steps deeper and like lower and deeper. And I think I have also to be really thankful for guidance towards the company incorporation structuring,
Okay.
the help with the introduction, I guess, with the legal teams and with the ways how to best kick off in Estonia, since we wanted to incorporate in Estonia and so on. So, yeah, I think from the very beginning and with basically all of our investors, we had, I think, quite a good relationship in terms of not just being like financially boosted, but also we got a lot of pieces of
Strategically.
advice and
Mm.
relevant connection into the well, with partners and with the companies that were working in adjacent areas.
If there are any other defense tech founders that are in the very early stage, as you were before you met Freedom Fund, what would be your retrospective advice for them how to transition from, oh, we are doing this is very cool, very humble, into a business? A very broad question, I know,
Well,
but
that's
curious
a
if you have any
great
ideas.
question. Yes, it all depends on many factors, but the situation actually changed very much from 2023 when we were starting to now, and now I think there is already a lot more of kind of proofs of. I don't want to call it success stories, just because we all work in a very tragic sphere, right? But success in the terms of building needed products and solutions, and obviously generating revenue is important. Otherwise, you cannot, invest in next phases of the company development, plus the investment, of course. But even for that, for attraction of investment, you obviously need to understand what's the vision of your company, and the investors would like to see the future picture of your company and how it changes not even the end users' welfare, so to say, but how it changes globally the market, and how it provides the global impact. And you can't do that if you are very if the founders are very much into, I'm not even saying operational work, but there are like a couple of founders and they are doing everything. They don't have time to think about the vision and the future and so on. So I think now it changed, and with the very early stage founders that I was speaking with recently in the last half a year, they don't have these. Many of them don't have this kind of humility or humbleness that us had. I mean, us, Volodymyr and myself, but also other founders of our kind of year, so to
Generation,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't have this humbleness anymore, which is good, I guess. They are like, we know there are companies like Farsight Vision and others who did it, and
So
so
there's already proof.
we kind of
Mhm.
we know we can do it. It's not that like being very shy about your ideas, and that you cannot probably achieve them and so on. It's more like it has changed. But what I would change if it didn't, I would probably say that don't think that the investors that are like proposing to invest in you, that they are like miles ahead or miles more advanced in your journey, because nobody knows your journey better than you do, and nobody is more expert in what you do. Mm, you can get people around you who are more or less aware of your technology or what you're trying to build, but only you are the best expert in your technology and in what you're trying to build. And you are the person or the people who are speaking with the end users and not the investors. Sometimes the investors, but still it's high level, it's not deep. And there is a certain level of humility and humbleness that is always needed in the journey. Otherwise, you'll be like over self-confident, and you will miss what's going wrong. But still, there should be a fine balance on how self-confident you should be. And if the and sorry for that, all the investors that are listening, if the investors are approaching you, then you already have it. Or you have something that they see in you, and don't don't spoil it. don't try to say no, my product is not really good, I'm not really good, and so on. Don't spoil this perception, because I ask for advice, ask for definitely for point of view, but also have your point of view, your core view with you. And it can be related to anything, to the product vision, obviously, which is very important in the early stages, but also to all other things, operation-wise. How do you want to be incorporated? Do you want to have an external person on the board, on the management board right away or not? Do you want to which countries do you want to be incorporated in? Which I don't know, lawyer company, legal company you want to work with? Which
Having an overview over everything.
what is the your pricing model, and what is the do you want to have any revenue right away or not? Even that, there are many things that are part of the strategy, and your investors definitely are your supporters, because they invest in you, and they need to be your team, on your team. But it doesn't mean that they substitute you. Nobody can, and otherwise you're not the founder of the company. So
good
that, I think,
reflection.
would be definitely something I would say to me a couple of years ago.
And you nudged my next question. Pricing. Did you have any idea how to actually price your product in the very beginning, or was it pretty much gradual? Just to understand, how did you figure that out? Right, what to charge?
I don't even think I have figured it out right now. I I think
Usual, yeah.
that I think we are still figuring it out. No, honestly, it's a process. It took me some time to understand that I don't have to kind of figure it out once and for all right now, and I still have. We will have a lot of time to reshape it, and also because we are working in a very specific domain or domains, we will have probably kind of different types of pricing for different categories of customers. And depending on whether it's kind of B2B to C or B2G to C to B2C, that would be different. Also, depending on different countries, country-wise, it's different, and so on. And obviously, when you are a very early stage founder, you want it to be very simple, and like you want. There are many complex things all over around, and you want some things to be simple. But I think it's important to understand that whatever you decided at this point, it will definitely change, and you don't have to stress out about it, because it will anyway change. So if you spend, we spent, I think, probably 1 year on trying to do all kinds of exercises around pricing. And they included different matrices of comparison and different matrices of calculating and singling out the capabilities of the product and comparing certain capabilities with capabilities of other products in civilian or defense market. There was the way how the products are pricing in adjacent areas, how the software products are being priced in defense, how the software and hardware products are being priced. So
Well,
it
a
took
lot
us
of
quite a lot
exercises.
of time, a lot of exercises. But the
Which
fun thing
framework
is,
was the most helpful, if you remember?
I can't honestly say right now because that's where I was going. The
Okay,
fun
okay,
thing is that we basically or like originally just at the very beginning we thought, okay, we definitely have to cover at least expenses, right? And for that, what would be the expenses per unit of our product or per license? We did some I can't say rough, but some very quick calculations that took us maybe like 1 week to do or something. It's not very quick, but still. And we shaped the original price of the license. Then we figured out that there was also like this, officially officially defined profit percentage in Ukraine that you cannot go over officially. And so we basically had already the structure of the price that we can officially say to and like define for the military and users in Ukraine. We made the extrapolation how we want to price outside of Ukraine, or for how would we like to sell for the non-military customers. And after that, we did all kinds of exercises and we tried like all kinds of frameworks and so on. And we were working closely with our investors slash advisors in order to to do that. We spoke with a lot of other entrepreneurs in the sphere. Also, some were like everyone was trying to be useful, but some were actually not useful because they were coming from more conventional type of defense companies, and what they were giving to us, it was like completely different type of boxing, so to say. And additional layer of complexity was that in the majority of cases, when you buy, for example, a tank or an artillery setup, you buy it forever. You don't buy it for a year, right? You buy it like once and forever. And this is the typical procurement in the defense forces everywhere in the world. You never buy something for 1 year. You just like buy it and that's it. More or less same like with for the personal use. If you buy I don't know, hair dryer, you don't buy it for 1 year. You normally, unless it
Yeah,
breaks, of course, or you need to change something. But normally you buy it like once and for all, or a toaster or something. But then when you in the civilian life you buy, I don't know, the subscription to Netflix, for example, right? You usually can buy it in different types of timing, like for year, for a month, and so on. And so when you come with the same approach, like SaaS approach to the defense, in our case with software, and you kind of for everyone who worked in the software products and so on, it's completely normal that you price it
makes
like
sense. Yeah.
for a certain amount of time, but not in the defense, because in defense you buy once and for all. And so the question is, what is forever? How do you calculate forever? Is it for 10 years? For how many users? For how much usage? And so on. For the active phase of warfare or not active phase of warfare, and so on. And that was very, very complex. Still, the fun part of all of this, we made like we took 1 week to do very rough calculations of our licenses and our packages. we spent a year after that trying to figure out what's the correct way, what's the right way. And now, now it's slightly changed, but let's say after that year and one more year after that, the price was still the same, the price that we created in the first week.
Ah, okay. So I didn't.
And that's very interesting and funny because we were kind of trying to revalidate, or not revalidate, but change if we were wrong the original price that we created, but in the first week. But it turned out that if we were going too far left or right, smaller or bigger, lower or higher, we couldn't really validate the reasoning behind. Lower was completely unreasonable because it was going against all the costs, expenditure and so on. And higher was really hard to understand how we kind of explain the reason for it, right?
Yeah, why they have to pay more. Okay.
And
regarding the model, you said buy once or buy for a specific amount of time. How was that pricing structure that you have made in that week? Where was it within those two buckets?
Yeah, we our original, and it actually stays the same. So at this point, our first thought was more or less around yearly price, not monthly but yearly, and not 2 yearly but 1 year, right? Why? Because first of all, we had in mind more or less the cost of development, cost of patches of features and changes, and cost of infrastructure. And since cost of infrastructure was really high and is really high, and it doesn't really matter whether you are on-prem or in cloud, it still gets up and up every year. And if you speak, for example, with some of our end users, or if you speak with my infrastructure guys, they will tell you that even with the physical servers, the price rose like 2.5 or 3 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you have the same setup of GPU, CPU, and so on, the prices just went crazy up. And I'm sure that it has a lot to do with the war in Ukraine because, of all the computation that is used and so on.
Supply chain, energy, etc. Many, yeah.
Exactly, yes. And the same goes about cloud. Also, cloud prices grew. And we envisioned that the prices would be growing. So we understood that yearly price makes the only sense, basically.
Because you adjust it then based on your cost.
Yeah.
Smart. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And then there was additional pricing logically for, setup, maintenance, training, specific support, not traditional, not non-usual support, which would require physical trainings and physical trips to the frontline and so on, and on-prem maintenance of the ecosystem for specific customers. So that would be priced additionally outside of the main license, and that is basically more or less what is working. We did still change with some of the customers to 2 yearly prices for the licenses, meaning that they would buy 2 years, not 1 year license, and that would be easier for them to kind of have peace of mind and so on. And obviously for us also good to have some more of the projections, but still the setup that we publicly hear, or for example of some companies like Palantir and so on, when they can sell the lifetime license, lifetime package, that is very interesting to learn how that came to be and what was the reasoning behind and so on, how it is priced. But I think it's a high level, and I think it's more on governmental level. So it makes even more sense, because on governmental level, it's really hard to
convince the people
sell,
to think in totally different
in SaaS perspective.
No, totally agree. Super interesting insight. Thanks for sharing that. Let's get back into the main timeline. Back to your very first frontline deployment. Just a few months after that deployment, you made your first commercial sale. Can you tell us who bought this, or not necessarily an individual or specific group, but what type of customer bought it, and how did you get them to sign that deal in the end?
Well, as in many cases of the innovations in the defense, these were special forces, and they basically were able to. They are able to do some small sales if they see some products that are really innovative and they can help them and so on. So I think they were delivered also alternatives, let's say, alternatives from some other countries. And they were really surprised to see that, first of all, that something is locally made, and it's really good and it's actually working in comparison to something that is way more pricier and it doesn't work. And the problem with us was that we were not, again, there were cases in which we were testing something. So of course we were providing the units for free to have the tests done. But in the cases of the product or the unit or the increment of the product already tested by someone, right? And we were just like selling it. We were not willing to just gift it and so on because it was, it was produced for sale. And in some cases of the alternatives that were presented, these were like test samples. So they were provided for free and so on. But unfortunately or fortunately for us, they didn't work and ours did. So I think that was the very easy and probably still unconventional way why ours were bought, because they just worked. And
Pretty simple.
since it
And
was
yeah,
still like, not the situation of full GPS denial, it was already pretty harsh, but it wasn't that bad as it is right now. It was still the possibility to use it in GPS available and GPS denied areas of the front line. And there was also the difference in time of the execution. I think it was something like below 10 minutes that it worked in GPS available situation, and below 40 minutes in GPS denied. And still it was super quick for
pretty good
their
score.
purposes.
And I'm very curious about working with that. The first question that I had on the first sale: how did you get from the first sale to 2, 3, 4, 10 sales? How did that process work internally on expanding on the sales cycle? Super curious here as well.
Yeah, I mean that is also the very good question, and thank you for asking that, because I'm always thinking about, okay, I need to write the book how it was happening, or I need to make some I don't know notes or something not to forget, because it was a very unusual, I guess, journey. But there is no time and any time, so now you're actually doing what I wanted to do.
Nice one.
So first of all, thanks to the word of mouth, because there was a lot of all this, horizontal ties and a lot of spreading of the information about some things that are working between people, just like the adjacent units and so on. And there was there is still the case that, and it's quite often the case, like I would say on daily basis, that I get some phone call from unknown number on my Signal, for example, or WhatsApp, and someone is like, "Hi, I'm from this brigade, and a person from that brigade gave me your number because you provided them with something," and so on. So this is still it's still working like that. Another thing, we participated in a number of events from Brave One, and these events were quite often either mentored by, or there were some like guests or participants from the military organizations, and they were just trying to figure out what is new, what are the innovations out there, and so on. And they usually reached out, or they provided the contacts of mine or my colleagues to the relevant people. And I think we came from 1 to 2, 3, 4, probably up to 10 through the events from Brave One or the community, and also through the other manufacturers in the field who were working on mostly these were like photo planes and other drones that were bringing the recon data. They were recommending us to the end users, because the end users were asking them how to get the data processed, and they didn't have the capacity themselves to work on this. And then I think next big phase was with the Darkstar bootcamp, but that was already going from probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, I don't remember how many, to tens, you know, tens, and then later hundreds. So that was a time and place, I guess, in which due to, I guess, a lot of work on the Darkstar team, there was a very good combination of people inside of different units who were looking for innovations to not only just to for their unit but to scale. And there were people from the ministry as well, and from the innovative organizations from the ministry, and also Brave One one more time, because they started back then like the different centers of excellence for different types of technologies, and they invited us to participate in a couple of those. And since they were organizing the field tests and different gatherings of like bigger ones, right? We were able to not just to pitch, because it's not about pitching, but to show and let our end users to come and try the products themselves. And that, I think, was the most helpful. And we actually never did any advertising, by the way, by, I would say, let me think, something like autumn probably of 2025.
Well, okay,
Up
so word
until
of
autumn
mouth
of
network.
2025. Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. And how does sales work now in 2026 for you?
We are tired. No, in fact, depending on what kind of sales you mean. So we continue selling directly to the units and work directly with the units. And that has scaled, and that was the reason why I said we were tired. We still work a lot on how we can be part of the centralized procurement, because that has been really challenging in terms of policies and legislation and so on, because obviously there are certain laws that regulate how you can how the state, the country level, the ministry can purchase something for the whole defense forces. And since we are software, we are in that kind of shady phase, not phase, but zone, legislation-wise, where it is hard to be part of some official tracks of procurement. It was
Okay.
hard. Now it's changing. Thankfully, also due to the efforts of many people, myself included, because we want to work fully inside of the field of law, and we do really want to be working and being procured just like other products and other solutions. And it's not always that the software can be only bought with the hardware. because in some cases, even for us, some of our capabilities can be part of hardware, but some cannot or should not. Because if we're speaking about, situation awareness or geospatial awareness, it's a standalone platform, and it absorbs data from various hardware platforms, but it's not dependent, meaning it's not plugged into them. They are
Yeah, locked
plugged
in,
into
essentially.
it. Yeah.
It's the opposite.
So
Okay.
so basically, what I wanted to say in terms of the centralized procurement, it's still it has been a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but in some other countries outside of Ukraine, for example, it is more or less the only way to be centralized procured or to work through primes. So this is like a different type of journey, which we're also walking, but it has different dynamics. And but coming back to your question, there are already mechanisms, fully legal mechanisms for decentralized procurement that we are working with at scale. And yeah, I think there are a lot of lessons learned, how we figured out about them, how we had to, exactly learn almost by heart hundreds of laws
Mm. Different country,
ourselves
different
and
laws.
so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And regarding the challenges, what was the biggest one that you figured it out in this sense?
I think one of the things that I was told by a lot of people from this bubble, as we call it, defense bubble, is that don't even try, they said, to be procured, even decentralized by the units and so on. It's impossible. It's just like we tried, we failed, nobody will do it. It's just impossible until it became possible. Right. So a biggest lesson was that there is, in fact, legislation. It's really hard. It's like not really well structured. You need to spend a lot of time on it. You need to have a lot of consulting and so on. But it is possible. It is doable. It's just non-trivial and non-linear, I would say. Then, of course, second point is if you want to be part of the whole ecosystem, learn how the other parts of the ecosystem work. Like, for example, there are means of communication, like EW, radio, etc., and they are somehow procured. How are they procured? Like, talk to them, speak with them, make sure you know how they are being procured. There are different software programs outside of Ukraine that are being used and bought and procured. How are they procured? If they are coming from outside of Ukraine, there are different programs, like, for example, there are various coalitions that are helping Ukraine, right? And there is a specific one, the IT coalition, that is helping with some efforts with like for various efforts, let's say, but that are related to software. Speak with the representatives, ask what are the rules of this program, what exactly this program is created for, and so on. So I think the main idea is just to figure out what are the existing systems and procedures and programs, whichever you can fit, or on the crossroads of which ones you can fit. And if your system is needed and demanded, then there is always a way.
That's very true. And thank you so much for the insight. Figured it out, the ecosystem, right? Where's the push, where's the pull? And I guess you answered this already, is just talk to the people inside the ecosystem and they will tell you how it's structured. So this is a very
They will
good,
probably not know exactly what to
everything,
tell you
but
because they don't know your system in details. They have maybe just figured it out for themselves, but they will give you ideas. and then you work with ideas.
That's good enough. Okay, let's get back into the timeline. Important milestone. I think we mentioned Darkstar a bit, but some listeners or people watching this might not know what do we mean by that. So could you tell us a bit about it and how did it change the whole game for Farsight Vision?
Yeah, thank you. Well, Darkstar, I think, started as the defense coalition, and they were a combination of volunteers and investors and specialists in the defense, and those who have been helping since 2022. They initially set up as organization. I think it was something like an NGO originally that was helping with delivering help to the front line, including pickup trucks and so on. And in 2024, they thought of actually gathering forces, so to say, and specialists from the NATO, from relevant companies in Europe and from the Ukrainian frontline in order to coach the young entrepreneurs and new companies that came to be in the sphere, to help them thrive and to help them reach out to their end users, to their customers, and the reverse, to help the end users and customers find the solutions that would be helpful. So I think it was all about how to connect people in the right way so that there is a collective help for the front line. And as far as I remember, I might be mixing dates up, somewhere close to the autumn of 25. The initiative turned into more of a fund, of the VC fund. So now it's also a VC fund, and they have been since 2024 on investing into a couple of companies each bootcamp. And they have started also with organizing these boot camps twice a year, that the majority of which have been held in Ukraine. And I think there was one or two outside of Ukraine, in Estonia and somewhere else. The winners of the boot camp, which is like what they call themselves, I think, extreme boot camp. They are usually the companies that would be invested in. We were the first company that they invested in, and the one of the, I think, winners of the first bootcamp. And it was really extreme bootcamp because it had a format of a hackathon in which you are working nonstop for 10, 12 hours, but it ran for 5 days. And by day 5, you're already like in the state of for total exhaustion. And I think this format has been extremely valuable because you can obviously see which teams can run really hard, really long, which teams can collaborate effectively and support each other in this extremely hard conditions, which is very important.
Yeah, and stress.
Which teams can build effective links and communication bridges with other companies, even though they're really stressed and stretched thin. So I think these are like 3 things that you only can figure out under stress, under pressure. And believe me, there was a lot of pressure from all
No.
ends.
Based on how you say it, I totally can relate to that. Okay, and as a winner, you got around 600,000 euros cheque from Darkstar, which I believe was a pretty good, significant amount for Farsight Vision at that time. And before I get further in the story, I would also love to tap your brain. What do you think? What type of defense tech founders should consider Darkstar as you did initially, stage wise and maybe
that's a great
vertical wise?
yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think it's definitely about a combination of people or who feel strong about their products and their solutions, who believe in what they build, but at the same time who are open to criticism or who are open to pieces of advice and challenges. because Darkstar team, they are very passionate, and they are trying to really to help and to challenge the founders into different directions to see what is the potential and so on. They are really open in their network, so they are connecting you generously with the people within the bootcamp and afterwards with the network. And it's very important to kind of take what you are given and not just say that I know it all and I don't need any help. Just give me money, right? Because I don't think this is what Darkstar is about. I think Darkstar is about qualitatively helping a company if the company wants to be helped. And if it doesn't, then it's slightly a mismatch. And I think Darkstar would probably I don't think it's just for like very early stage, to be honest, because the questions that are raised and the topics that are discussed would mean that you already understand more or less what is VC investments, how do you shape your financial documents, what is the data room, how do you work with reporting, and you need at least have some understanding of how you shape your business model and so on. And that means that maybe there are exceptions where the very young teams that haven't thought at all about all these items could thrive in Darkstar, but I think you need to have a little bit of maturity to participate. On the other hand, if you're already Series B or Series C type of company, it's also probably slightly too late for you to participate, unless maybe you are participating as you're coming as a participant, but you will be generously sharing your experience with the kind of younger type of companies. And in this respect, it might also make sense if you, for example, are a foreign company which wants to be used and to see the ways how to be helpful in the Ukrainian market. So there are, I think, different ways, but I think perfect fit would be somewhat between pre-seed and Series A in this range. And I think this would be definitely founders. That this would be definitely very technical founders. The founders that are like, or the, let's say, a CEO, for example, or COO that is like purely business or finance, definitely would be standing out. Because you need to really be into product and you really need to understand what you're building. I think this is also very important.
No, a very good explanation. You answered three of my next questions on who shouldn't join Darkstar and etc. So thank you for explaining the full picture here. Okay, great. Three last question I actually have on you here on your journey. First one is the next huge milestone in spring 2025. Your technology is used for the first time during military exercises in Estonia. If I got the research right, that was initially the first deployment in a NATO member country and not Ukraine. And I'm very curious, what was different about working with the Estonian military versus Ukrainian military? If you have any observations there, that would be super helpful.
We started to work with some of the Estonian military back in 2024, right after Darkstar bootcamp, and actually at the bootcamp. So it wasn't spring of 25 first time, it was even before, slightly before, like before second half of 24. It was different mainly because there was a lot of, with the Ukrainian military, you just do the training of your technology. And sometimes, occasionally, you have to also explain a little bit on how they navigate, how they fly their drones in order to best collect, the material, the data for processing, and that's it. And then that's all. With the armies outside of Ukraine, including Estonian, but also we did then exercises in Portugal and so on, you have to explain the whole system. because quite often the military, they do have, I guess, some exchange, and they trying to learn from open sources and so on. But still, there are a lot of open questions around communication, retreats, batteries, and so on and so forth. And since we are not like providers, manufacturers of the drones, then we would need to invite partners in order to provide this bigger picture explanation. We
Which
didn't
I guess also means it takes longer to move.
it takes longer, it's more complex, yes, because you have to basically have um, to be ready with the whole system of products that work together for to serve the purposes. And in some countries it's even in Estonia for exercise, I think it was easier, but in like normal conditions you won't be able to easily just switch EW whenever you want, or use some other of the technologies that are forbidden to be used in civilian setup. So yeah, I think it makes things more complex. With the exercise in Estonia, it was like not exactly. It was our technology, it was our systems that was used, but we, as members of the company, were not participating ourselves. We were just observers in a way, which was also good because we could see how our tools would be used without us there fully, which is very similar to how they're used in the Ukrainian frontline, because we come to visit our end users from time to time, but we don't spend all the time there. So it's still a lot of remote communication and feedback. So we received really, really good feedback after the exercise. And I think a lot of other next steps that were happening afterwards, they were the results of this feedback. We got to work with way broader forces in Estonia. I can't mention all of them and the names at this point, but we got more of the adoption I wanted to mention. And we also got into the innovative and R&D programs that started to run there in 2025. So I think that was very successful phase for us. And then we also did the exercise in Portugal and a couple of others. Was the final one, I think it was the exercise in Germany in December 2025. So the whole 2025 was about a lot of exercises. And weirdly, for me, we were really able to provide a lot of expertise and a lot of feedback on what else has been set up for the exercise with all kinds of forces. Why I say weirdly? Because I'm not a military person, but because we are so much with the military in Ukraine, and we do understand how things are happening and working in system-wise. Yeah, I think it was interesting to see that we can provide back the expertise to the military in other countries.
Yes. By the way, I love when I ask one question and you get into all of the details and you tell us the whole overview over selling and talk with markets outside of Ukraine. So thank you for that. And I think you should write the book at some point because you have a lot of thoughts here. Okay, great. One last big question. In February 2026, you closed around 7 million euro round co-led by Axon Enterprise. Outside of them, your cap table are the investors from US, Estonia, Poland, Switzerland, Ukraine, and Denmark, us, Fund of Frontier that came in as well. In a few words, if you could explain the getting from A, which is we need to fundraise, to actually closing the round successfully, could you explain it in a way as you explain it to your younger self before you actually started the whole process?
Can I say just no? No, no, like don't do anything. Don't start anything. Yeah, I'm joking. That was an amazing journey, honestly. And I'm actually really thankful to you guys, to Final Frontier and the angel investors from Denmark who also believed in our journey and continue supporting us in Denmark, because we believe in mutual, relationships in the countries that are really supportive of Ukraine, and Denmark obviously is one of those. And I think it was really important with the whole round, and including the lead investor and the co-lead investor, SmartCap, that we were able to show the product as the helpful means, plus show the vision of where are we going with that, plus share the show and proof that we have the partners in this shared vision. So we are not alone, and we are not building it alone. And I think it's very important that our military end users and customers, they very often, and I'm really proud of that, they're very often, when you speak with them, and I know many of our investors did have some kind of conversations with our end users, which is really right thing to do. They would say that we are not just users of Farsight Vision. We are co-owners or like co-creators or something, of Farsight Vision. Because honestly, in many cases with Ukrainian defense tech, the most successful companies, they really co-create with the end users. And I think it's really important to have the end users on different levels who say like, we need Farsight Vision, we believe in what Farsight Vision does next, and we will be with them there on that journey. And I think this is very important for both us as a company, them as end users, and the investors who who consider investing, to see that there is such a deep penetration and involvement with each other. And I think this is very important to have the belief in the journey. And for example, with our lead investor, I think there was quite a match in this perspective, because they as a company, they as a corporation, they have very similar close connection with their end users. And what they do with like police, they also have very close feedback loops with their end users all the time through all the years. And I hope, I don't know for sure, but I hope that there was probably this match that they saw with us and our end users, that we have the strong belief in product, that everything evolves around product. And so both us and the end users, we are like trying to make sure the product works. For the end users, it's a matter of life and death, and survival, and our protection. And for us, it's the matter of like serving this purpose, and it all works together really well. So I think
Love your
for
philosophy, actually.
for this stage in our lifetime and for this round, I think that was really important.
Okay, great. And in a few words, if you can tell all of us, where is Farsight Vision in 3 years? And where is the war? Just to talk about the future as well, just to understand your vision from here.
Well, 3 years, it's a lifetime in this in the current conditions. I sometimes don't know where am I in 3 months, but we definitely see our next phases of development in the full full-fledged understanding of the digital twins that we are working with, in the way where the system is a trustworthy partner in providing us with the means of action, not reaction, but proaction, in the highly dynamic threat situations. And this is not just we will develop another LLM, or we will train another LLM, or we will provide the simulation tools. I see Farsight Vision as a complex system that works with the majority of sensor systems, and that leverages the latest innovations in chips and microprocessors, in communication, and etc., and provides the possibilities to have the updated, changed doctrine of defense. So I see quite a bigger picture for where are we moving as a company. I don't see at this point that we are substituting or removing some companies as competitors, but I see that we can collaborate with many, and this is very important. That was very important in the 3 years of our journey, and I think in the next 3 years that would be very important as well. And I think that we have the crucial role and might have a crucial role in also European reshaping of the defense doctrine, and that seems to be doable and realistic because we are already a part of a lot of collaborations inside of certain zones of Europe that we started to provide like knowledge, guidance, training, etc., where we work closely with some of the hardware platform providers and so on. And we see a lot of potential from leveraging of our system for kind of renovating, providing fresh blood, so to say, for systems of situation awareness all over Europe. And in the face of the current threats geopolitically, I think it is totally doable for us as a company incorporated in Estonia, which is part of the EU, of the NATO, and so on, to bring that kind of Europe plus Ukraine grown possibility capability. So I see us there. I see us in situation and geospatial awareness space globally, with the possibility to plug and play into a majority of different systems. And that only means that we need to even work harder on our network, on our collaborations, and bring the lessons from Ukraine and into the with the partners who are willing to listen and to collaborate with us.
Yeah. Okay, I love your vision. It's not just a product and company, it's really being the change maker within the whole ecosystem. So I really love where you're going. And thank you so much for sharing your journey and advice with the whole ecosystem. This is, I can call this a bit of masterclass in building a DefenceTech. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And one last thing. For other DefenceTech founders watching this or listening to this who want to build in DefenceTech, what do you think is the single most important thought you would want to take them?
Can it be two, actually?
It can be
Can
three.
It be
doesn't
two?
matter. Yeah.
Okay, one is definitely work closely with your end users all the time. I'm not saying listen to them. I'm saying work with them, which is also very important. And second, work closely with your ecosystem. Collaborate with your ecosystem. Don't be standalone. Don't try to be the best of everyone. Be part of the ecosystem. So there will be two.
Co-creation. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. I know you need to run now, so thank you so much for spending actually 2 hours in total with me.